Princess Vela came to Earth on a cold morning in winter. Her ship was beautiful, of course. It was made of white metal that glowed softly, like a piece of a star fallen to the ground. It landed at the main spaceport outside the capital city, and 100 cameras recorded every moment. The princess stepped out slowly. She was older now, 29 years old, but still beautiful. Her purple skin was smooth and perfect. Her silver hair still floated around her like it was alive. Her golden eyes still shone brightly, but something was different. The pride in her face was softer now. The confidence in her walk was not as strong. She looked like someone who had learned hard lessons over the years. The Earth Council had prepared a grand welcome for her. Music played. Flags waved. Important people lined up to shake her hand and smile for the cameras. It was all very proper and polite, but the princess only cared about one thing. "Where's Tay?" She asked the council leader, a gray-haired man named Director Park. Director Park's smile became a little less warm. "Professor Tay is at his institute. He's very busy with his research. I'm sure we can arrange a meeting later in the..." "Now," Princess Vela said. "I want to see him now." There was something in her voice. Not the command of a princess used to getting everything she wanted. Something closer to desperation. Director Park looked uncomfortable. "Your Highness, Professor Tay is..." "Well, he's not always available for visitors. He prefers to focus on his work. Perhaps if you could wait a few days." "I've waited 10 years," Princess Vela said quietly. "I will not wait any longer." The journey to the Tay Institute took 2 hours. Princess Vela sat in the back of the vehicle, looking out at Earth through the window. She saw cities full of people. She saw green forests and blue oceans. She saw a world that was very different from the primitive planet her ancestors had visited 1,000 years ago. Humans had changed. Everything had changed, and she had played a part in that change, though not the part she would have chosen. The Institute was a tall building made of glass and steel, standing on a cliff above the ocean. Waves crashed against the rocks below. Wind blew cold and sharp from the water. It was beautiful in a harsh way. Princess Vela walked through the front doors. Scientists and engineers stopped to stare at her. Nobody had expected this. Nobody had prepared for a visit from one of the most famous people in the galaxy. Hana appeared after a few minutes. She was older now, with gray starting to show in her hair, but her eyes were still sharp. "Your Highness," she said, bowing slightly. "This is unexpected. Professor Tay did not mention that you were coming." "He does not know," Princess Vela said. "I came without warning. I was afraid that if I asked first, he would say no." Hannah's face showed nothing, but there was understanding in her eyes. "Follow me," she said. They walked through long hallways filled with machines and screens and things the Princess Vela did not understand. Human technology had grown beyond her knowledge now. The student had become the teacher. They stopped at a simple door. Hannah knocked once and opened it. The room inside was not what Princess Vela expected. It was small and plain. A desk covered with papers. Screens showing numbers and designs. A window looking out at the ocean. And sitting at the desk, his back to the door, was Tay. He was older. His hair was almost completely gray now. His shoulders were still strong, but they carried a weight that came from years of work. He did not turn around when they entered. "I told you I did not want to be disturbed," he said to Hannah. "I know," Hannah replied, "but I think you will want to see this visitor." Tay turned around slowly. His eyes found Princess Vela for a long moment. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the wind outside and the distant crash of waves. Then Tay stood up. His face was calm. There was no anger in his eyes. No hate. Just a quiet emptiness, like looking at a stranger. "Your Highness," he said. His voice was polite but flat. This is a surprise. Princess Vila stepped forward. Professor Tay, I have wanted to speak with you for a long time. I sent many messages. I thought perhaps they did not arrive. They arrived, Tay said. I deleted them. The words hit her like a blow. She had suspected this, but hearing it confirmed was different. It hurt. I understand, she said softly. I deserve that. I deserve worse. Tay said nothing. He just watched her with those calm, empty eyes. Princess Vila took a deep breath. I came here to apologize. What I said at the summit 10 years ago was wrong. It was cruel. It was arrogant. I was a child who thought she understood the universe, but I understood nothing. She paused, waiting for a response. None came. I have thought about that day many times, she continued. I have thought about the look on your face when I mocked you. I have thought about how you walked away without saying anything. I did not understand it then. I thought you were giving up. I thought you were weak. A small, bitter laugh escaped her lips. I was the weak one. You were strong. Strong enough to walk away and build something better instead of wasting time arguing with someone who would not listen. Tay's expression did not change. Is that why you came? To apologize? Partly, Princess Vila admitted. And partly because my empire needs your help. There it was. The truth behind the visit. Tay nodded slowly. The Starbound Empire is not as strong as it used to be. I have heard the reports. Other empires are catching up. Some are using technology based on my designs. Your old advantages are disappearing. Yes, Princess Vila said. We need allies. We need partners. We need. She hesitated. We need you. Tay looked at her for a long time. Then he walked to the window and stared out at the ocean. His back was to her again. 10 years ago, he said quietly, I stood in front of your assembly and asked for partnership. I asked to be treated as an equal. Do you remember what you said? Princess Vila closed her eyes. I remember. You said humans had no power. You said we were children. You said we should go back to our small planet and stay there. I was wrong, she whispered. Tay turned around. His face was still calm, but there was something hard in his eyes now. Not anger. Something colder. You were not wrong about the facts, he said. You were wrong about what they meant. You looked at us and saw weakness. You should have looked at us and seen potential. He walked toward the door. I do not hold grudges, Your Highness. Grudges are heavy, and I have too much work to do. But I also do not forget. The Starbound Empire did not believe in us when we needed help. Now you need help, and you expect us to forget that. He opened the door. We will not forget, but we will be fair. If your empire wants to work with us, they can send diplomats to our council. They will be treated the same as everyone else. No better, no worse. Princess Vila's eyes were wet. And what about you? Will you work with us? Tay paused at the door. He did not turn around. No, he said simply. I have more important things to do. Goodbye, Your Highness. He walked out and did not look back. Just like 10 years ago, Princess Vila stood alone in the small room, looking at the empty doorway. Outside, the waves kept crashing against the rocks. The wind kept blowing. The world kept turning. Some things changed. Some things stayed the same. And some things, once broken, could never be fixed. 5 years after the summit, the galaxy changed. It started with a rumor. Ships from the outer regions reported seeing something strange. A vessel moving faster than any ship should be able to move. It appeared and disappeared like a ghost, crossing distances that should have taken months in just hours. The rumors said it was a human ship. Nobody believed the rumors at first. Humans did not have that kind of technology. Humans were still using old engines that the major empires had thrown away centuries ago. The idea that humans could build something faster was impossible, but the rumors kept coming. And then the evidence came. The first public demonstration happened above Earth's moon. Representatives from 12 different empires came to watch, expecting to see nothing special. They expected to laugh and go home. They did not laugh. Tay stood on the observation deck of the Earth station, watching through the large windows. Below him, floating in space, was a ship called the Dawn. It was not old or ugly like his first ship. It was sleek and silver, designed by human engineers who finally had something to be proud of. And inside it was his engine. The representatives watched as the Dawn activated its engines. There was no loud sound. There was no bright explosion of energy. There was just a soft blue glow, and then the ship was gone. One moment, it was there. The next moment, it was on the other side of the solar system. The journey that should have taken 3 weeks took 3 seconds. The representatives stopped laughing. They started asking questions. Tay did not answer their questions. He did not explain how the engine worked. He just smiled and told them that if they wanted to know more, they would have to ask nicely. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. Humans had done something impossible. Humans had created technology that was better than anything the great empires possessed. The youngest species, the weakest species, the species that Princess Vela had called children, had just changed the rules of the universe. Everything moved quickly after that. Empires that had ignored Earth for decades suddenly wanted to be friends. Trade offers came flooding in. Military alliances were proposed. Everyone wanted access to the new engine technology. Tay became famous. His face appeared on screens across 1,000 worlds. People called him a genius. They called him a visionary. They called him the father of a new age. He did not care about any of that. The Earth Council asked him what he wanted. They offered him money, power, whatever he desired. Tay only asked for one thing. He wanted a team. He wanted other engineers and scientists who thought like him. He wanted to build more. He wanted to create things that nobody had ever imagined. They gave him everything he asked for. The Tay Institute opened 2 years later. It was a huge building on the coast of the ocean, filled with laboratories and workshops and the brightest minds on Earth. For the first time in history, humans were not copying alien technology. They were creating their own. New inventions came out of the Institute every month. Better ships, better weapons, better medicine, better everything. Each invention made humanity stronger. Each invention brought more respect from the galaxy. But Tay never forgot where he came from. He never forgot that night in the Grand Assembly Hall when Princess Vila had laughed at him. He never forgot the feeling of being alone in a room full of people who thought he was worthless. He used that memory as fuel. Every time he felt tired, he remembered her golden eyes looking down at him. Every time he wanted to give up, he remembered her cold smile. And then he worked harder. The messages from Princess Vela kept coming. They came every few months, regular as clockwork. Tay never opened them. He never read a single word. He just deleted them and moved on. His assistant, a young woman named Hannah, once asked him about the messages. "Someone from the Starbound Empire keeps trying to contact you," she said. "Princess Vela. She seems very eager to speak with you. Should I set up a meeting?" Tay was working on a new design. He did not look up from his screen. "No," he said simply. Hannah waited for more explanation. None came. "But sir," she said carefully, "the Starbound Empire is very powerful. They could be valuable allies. Perhaps it would be wise to—" I said no. His voice was not angry. It was not cold. It was just final. Like a door closing. Hannah nodded and left the room. She did not ask about Princess Vela again. Years passed. Earth grew stronger and stronger. The small planet that had once been ignored became one of the most important places in the galaxy. Human ships flew everywhere, carrying human goods and human ideas to worlds that had never seen a human before. And at the center of it all was Tay. He was 36 years old now. His hair had some gray in it. Lines had appeared around his eyes from too many nights without sleep. But his mind was still sharp. His hands still knew how to build things. And his determination had not faded. Some days, he thought about the young man who had walked into the Grand Assembly Hall all those years ago. That man had been nervous and hopeful and naive. He had believed that if he just explained things well enough, people would listen. He had believed in fairness. That man was gone. The man who replaced him believed in something else. He believed in action. He believed in results. He believed that respect was not given, it was taken. It was earned by doing things that nobody else could do. Princess Vila had taught him that lesson. She probably did not know it, but she had been the best teacher he ever had. He wondered sometimes what she thought about humanity now. Did she still believe they were children? Did she still think they should go back to their small planet and stay there? Did she regret what she had said? He would probably never know. And honestly, he did not care. The past was the past. He had more important things to focus on, more inventions to create, more impossible things to make possible. But deep in his heart, in a place he rarely visited, there was still a small piece of that young man from the summit. And that piece was satisfied. We did it, he thought sometimes, late at night when he was alone in his laboratory. We showed them all. The thought made him smile. Then he went back to work, because there was always more work to do. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. 3 weeks alone in the small ship, floating through the cold darkness of space. 3 weeks with nothing but the hum of the old engine and the silence of the stars. 3 weeks to think. Tay spent the first few days angry. He replayed the summit in his mind again and again. He thought of all the things he should have said. He imagined standing up to Princess Vila, giving a powerful speech that made everyone respect humanity. But those were just dreams. In reality, he had said nothing. He had just left. Maybe that was weak. Maybe he should have fought harder. But as the days passed, the anger slowly changed into something else. It became cold and hard, like a stone in his chest. It was not rage. It was determination. Princess Vila was wrong about many things, but she was right about one thing. Humans had not achieved anything truly great yet. They had borrowed technology. They had copied what others made. They had survived, but they had not created anything new. That had to change. Tay sat in the pilot's seat and looked at his hands. These hands had built machines. These hands had fixed engines that everyone else said were broken beyond repair. These hands had created things from nothing. Maybe these hands could create something greater. He started making notes. Not for anyone else, just for himself. Ideas about engines. Ideas about energy. Ideas about traveling through space faster than anyone thought possible. Most of the ideas were probably crazy. Most of them would probably fail. But some of them might work, and one good idea was all he needed. The ship entered Earth's solar system on the 20th day. Tay saw the sun first, bright and warm and familiar. Then he saw the planets. Jupiter with its great storms. Mars with its red dust. And finally, Earth, blue and green and white. Beautiful. Home. He landed at a small station outside the main city. Nobody was there to meet him. The Earth Council had already heard about what happened at the summit. They were not angry. They were just disappointed. Another failure. Another reminder that humans did not matter in the grand story of the galaxy. Tay did not care what they thought. He went back to his small apartment. It was exactly as he had left it. A bed, a desk, tools and machine parts covering every surface. It was not beautiful, but it was his dot. He sat down at his desk and started working. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Tay stopped going outside. He stopped talking to friends. He stopped doing everything except working on his ideas. People thought he was broken. They thought the summit had destroyed him. His friends tried to visit, but he sent them away. His boss called him, asking when he would return to work. Tay quit his job. He had no time for fixing other people's machines anymore. He had to build something new. The messages from the Galactic Union started arriving 3 months after the summit. The first one was from some minor official, asking why Earth's representative had left early. Tay deleted it without reading the whole thing. The second message came a week later. It was from a trade committee, offering Earth a new agreement. The terms were worse than before. They wanted more and offered less. It was an insult dressed up as a gift. Tay deleted that one too. The third message was different. It came 6 months after the summit, and it was from Princess Vela herself. Tay stared at the screen for a long time. Her name floated there, glowing softly. Princess Vela of the Starbound Empire. The girl who had humiliated him in front of the galaxy. He thought about opening it. He thought about reading what she had to say. Maybe she was apologizing. Maybe she was mocking him again. Maybe she wanted something. He would never know. His finger moved to the delete button and pressed it. The message disappeared. He went back to work. A year passed. Then 2 years. Tay lived on almost nothing. He sold everything he owned except his tools. He slept only a few hours each night. He ate simple food that he barely tasted. All of his energy, all of his life, went into one thing. The engine. It was not like any engine that existed before. The aliens had been using the same basic technology for thousands of years. It worked by bending space, folding it like paper to move from one place to another. It was powerful, but it had limits. The bigger the ship, the more energy it needed. And the energy had to come from rare materials that only a few empires controlled. Tay's engine worked differently. He could not explain how the idea came to him. It was like a door opening in his mind, showing him something that had always been there, but that nobody had ever seen before. The engine did not bend space. It moved through space in a completely new way, using energy that existed everywhere. Free energy. Unlimited energy. If it worked, it would change everything. The first test was small. Tay built a tiny version of the engine, no bigger than his hand. He connected it to a simple power source and pressed the button. Nothing happened. He checked the connections. He adjusted the settings. He pressed the button again. Still nothing. Tay wanted to throw the machine against the wall. He wanted to give up. 2 years of work, and he had nothing to show for it. But he did not give up. He sat down and thought. He went back to his notes. He found the mistake. It was small, just a tiny error in his calculations. He fixed it. He pressed the button again. The machine hummed. Then it glowed. Then it rose off the table and floated in the air, defying gravity, defying everything that Tay had been taught was possible. He stood there, watching it float. Tears ran down his face, but he was smiling. It worked. The next 2 years were the busiest of his life. He built bigger versions of the engine. He tested them again and again. He made improvements. He fixed problems. He kept everything secret, telling no one what he was doing. More messages came from the Galactic Union. More messages came from Princess Vela. He deleted all of them without reading. He was not ready yet. He was not finished, but soon he would be. And when that day came, the galaxy would learn what humans could really do. Tay looked out his window at the night sky. Somewhere out there, Princess Vela was living her perfect life in her perfect palace, probably forgetting that she had ever met a human named Tay. She would remember soon enough. He smiled and went back to work. The second day of the summit was worse than the first. Tay had not slept well. His room was small and cold, and the bed was made for aliens with different bodies. He lay awake most of the night, thinking about Princess Viola's words. They played in his head again and again like a song he could not forget. Perhaps some species are simply not meant to reach the stars. He got up early and looked at himself in the mirror. His eyes were red from no sleep. His face looked older than 26. But he was here. He had a job to do. Earth was counting on him, even if nobody on Earth really believed he could succeed. He put on his best clothes. They were simple. A dark jacket and dark pants. Nothing special. Nothing impressive. But they were clean, and they were his. The morning session was about trade agreements. Tay listened carefully. He took notes on his small device. The powerful empires talked about moving resources across the galaxy. They talked about prices and routes and taxes. Earth was mentioned only once, and only as a place that bought old technology that nobody else wanted. Tay raised his hand. He wanted to speak. The moderator, a tall alien with 4 arms, looked at him with surprise. "The human wishes to speak?" "Yes," Tay said. He stood up. "I have a proposal." The room became quiet. Not because they were interested, but because they were curious. What could a human possibly say that mattered? Tay cleared his throat. "Earth has many resources that we are willing to share. We have rare metals. We have clean water. We have people who are willing to work hard. What we need is partners. Not charity. Partners. We want to trade fairly. We want to grow together with other species." He paused. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his voice steady. "We also have ideas," he continued. "Humans think differently. We solve problems in ways that others do not expect. If you give us a chance, we can contribute to this union. We can help." For a moment, nobody said anything. Tay felt a small hope growing in his chest. Maybe they were listening. Maybe they were considering his words. Then Princess Vela stood up. "How touching," she said. Her voice was sweet but sharp, like honey mixed with poison. "The human speaks of partnership. The human speaks of contribution. But let me ask a simple question." She walked toward the center of the room. Her silver hair floated around her shoulders. Her golden eyes found Tay and held him in place. "What have humans ever created that we could not create better?" she asked. "What have humans ever discovered that we did not discover first? You speak of rare metals. We have planets made of metal. You speak of water. We can make water from nothing. You speak of hard workers. We have machines that work harder than any human ever could." She smiled that cold smile again. "And you speak of ideas. Different thinking. But different is not always good. Sometimes different is just wrong." The room laughed. Not everyone, but enough. Tay could feel the sound hitting him like stones. Princess Viola was not finished. "Let me tell you a story," she said, her voice becoming softer but somehow more cruel. 1,000 years ago, my ancestors visited Earth. Do you know what they found? Humans living in mud houses, fighting with sticks and stones, dying from simple diseases. They were no different from the animals around them. She paused for effect. "We gave humans fire. We gave them the wheel. Every great achievement in your history came from seeds that we planted. And now, 1,000 years later, you come to us asking for more. Always asking. Never giving. Like children who never grow up." Tay's hands were shaking. He pressed them against his legs to make them stop. "That is not true," he said. His voice was quiet but firm. "We built our own civilization. We reached the stars on our own. Nobody gave us. On your own?" Princess Vala laughed. You reached the stars using engines that we designed 3,000 years ago. Engines that we threw away because they were too slow, too weak, too old. You are flying through the galaxy in our garbage. Human. And you call that achievement? The laughter was louder now. Aliens from different worlds were pointing at Tay. Some were shaking their heads. Others were whispering to each other, their faces full of amusement. Tay felt something break inside him. It was not anger. It was something deeper. It was the feeling of being completely alone, of standing in a room full of people and knowing that not one of them saw him as an equal. He thought about his home. He thought about the small apartment where he grew up. He thought about his mother, who worked 2 jobs to feed him. He thought about his father, who died in a factory accident when Tay was 10 years old. He thought about all the humans on Earth who woke up every day and worked hard and hoped for better lives. And here was this princess. This girl who was only 19 years old. She had never worked a day in her life. She had never struggled. She had never lost anything. She was born into power and beauty and wealth, and she thought that gave her the right to look down on everyone else. She thought she knew what humans were worth. Tay looked at her. She was still smiling, waiting for him to argue, waiting for him to fight so she could defeat him again. The room was watching, waiting for entertainment. He would not give them what they wanted. Slowly, Tay gathered his things. He put his notes into his bag. He straightened his jacket. His movements were calm and careful, like he was preparing to leave a meeting that was simply finished. Human? The moderator asked. Do you have a response? Tay looked up. He looked at Princess Vila one last time. Her smile was fading now. She seemed confused. She had expected anger. She had expected tears. She had expected him to beg or to fight. She had not expected this. No, Tay said quietly. I have nothing more to say. He bowed. It was a small bow, polite but not deep. The bow of someone who still respected himself. Then he turned and walked toward the door. Where are you going? Princess Vila called after him. Her voice sounded different now. Surprised. Maybe even worried. The summit is not over. We have not finished the negotiations. Tay stopped at the door. He did not turn around. The negotiations were finished before they started, he said. You decided that the moment I walked in. I just did not see it until now. He opened the door. Wait, Princess Vila said. You cannot just leave. This is important. But Tay was already gone. The door closed behind him with a soft sound. He walked through the long white hallways. He walked past aliens who did not look at him. He walked past beautiful gardens and expensive shops and everything that showed how powerful the galaxy was. He walked back to his old, ugly ship. He climbed inside and sat in the pilot's seat. For a long time, he just sat there, looking at nothing. Then he started the engine. The ship rose slowly, shaking and groaning like an old man getting out of bed. It turned away from the station and pointed toward the stars. Toward home. Tay did not look back. The ship was old. It was not beautiful like the other ships that floated near the great space station. It had rust on its sides and the paint was coming off. But it worked. It carried Tay across the stars, and that was enough. Tay stood near the small window and looked outside. The Galactic Summit Station was huge. It was bigger than any city on Earth. Lights of different colors moved across its surface. Ships from 100 different worlds came and went like busy insects. Some ships were made of gold. Some ships looked like living creatures. And then there was his ship. Small, old, human. He was 26 years old. He had dark hair and tired eyes. His hands were rough from years of working with machines. Back on Earth, he was an engineer. He fixed things. He built things. He was good at his job, but nobody important knew his name. When the Earth Council needed someone to send to the Galactic Summit, they chose him because nobody else wanted to go. "It is a waste of time," one council member had said. "The aliens do not care about us. They never have." Tay knew this was true. Earth had joined the Galactic Union 50 years ago, but humans were still treated like children. They were the youngest species. They were the weakest. Their technology was behind by thousands of years. But still, someone had to go. Someone had to try. The ship landed with a loud sound. The door opened, and Tay stepped out into the station. The air smelled strange. It was clean, but also sweet, like flowers he had never seen before. Aliens of all kinds walked past him. Some were tall with blue skin. Some were short with too many eyes. Some floated in the air. Nobody looked at him. Nobody cared about the human in the old clothes standing alone. A small robot came to him. It had a round body and one bright eye. "Welcome to the Galactic Summit Station," it said in a flat voice. "You are the representative from Earth. Please follow me." Tay followed the robot through long hallways. The walls were white and shining. Everything looked expensive. Everything looked perfect. He felt out of place, like a stone in a garden of flowers. They entered a large room. It was the Grand Assembly Hall. Tay had seen pictures of it before, but pictures could not show how big it really was. The ceiling was so high that clouds floated inside. Seats rose up in circles, hundreds of them, and most were already filled with aliens from different worlds. In the center of the room was a raised platform. This was where representatives would speak. Tay found his seat in the back corner. It was the smallest seat in the room. The seat for Earth. He sat down and waited. The summit would last 3 days. Leaders from powerful empires would discuss trade, war, and the future of the galaxy. Tay was here to ask for help. Earth needed better technology. Earth needed medicine to fight new diseases. Earth needed allies. But he knew the truth. Nobody would listen to him. The room became quiet. A tall alien with silver skin stood on the platform. "The summit begins," the alien announced. "We welcome all species. We welcome all voices." Tay listened as different leaders spoke. The Valaran Empire talked about their new weapons. The Kryn Collective talked about their mining operations. Everyone talked about things that made them powerful. When they mentioned Earth, they laughed softly or said nothing at all. Then she appeared. Princess Vila of the Starbound Empire walked to the platform. She was young, maybe 19 in human years. She had pale purple skin and long silver hair that floated around her like it was alive. Her eyes were gold, bright, and sharp. She wore a white dress covered in tiny lights that looked like stars. She was beautiful. Tay could not deny that. But there was something cold in her face. Something proud. "I speak for the Starbound Empire," she said. Her voice was clear and strong. "We are the oldest. We are the wisest. We are the wisest. We have protected this galaxy for 10,000 years." The room was silent. Everyone listened to her. "We have seen species rise and fall," she continued. "We have seen empires grow and die. And we have learned one truth. Only the strong survive. Only the worthy deserve a place among the stars." Her golden eyes moved across the room. They stopped on Tay. "I see we have a human here," she said. Tay felt his heart beat faster. He did not look away. Princess Vela smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "How interesting. The little species from the blue planet. Tell me, human, why are you here? Do you think you belong among us?" The room was very quiet now. All eyes were on Tay. He stood up slowly. His legs felt weak, but he made himself stand straight. "I am here because Earth is part of this union," he said. His voice was calm. "We may be young, We may be small, but we have the right to be here." Princess Viola laughed. It was a soft laugh, but it cut through the air like a knife. "The right?" she repeated. "Rights are earned, human. Your species has been in space for only 100 years. You cannot even travel faster than light without our old technology. You have no great achievements. You have no power. You are children playing in a world of adults." Some aliens in the room laughed with her. Others just watched. Tay felt his face become hot. Anger burned in his chest. But he did not shout. He did not argue. He had learned long ago that losing his temper never helped anything. "We are learning," he said quietly. "We are growing. Learning?" Princess Vela shook her head. "You have been learning for 50 years, and you have achieved nothing special. Perhaps some species are simply not meant to reach the stars. Perhaps you should go back to your small planet and stay there." The laughter was louder now. Tay could feel it pressing against him from all sides. He looked at Princess Viola. She was still smiling that cold smile. She was only 19 years old, but she spoke like she knew everything. She had never struggled. She had never worked with her hands. She had been born into power, and she thought she could judge him. She thought she could judge all of humanity. Tay wanted to say something sharp. He wanted to defend his people, but the words would not come. What could he say? She was right about the facts. Humanity was weak. Humanity was behind. He had no argument that would change anyone's mind. So he just stood there, silent. As the princess turned away and continued her speech about the glory of the Starbound Empire, he sat down in his small seat in the corner and stared at the floor. This was only the first day. There were 2 more days to go. Tay wondered if he should have stayed on Earth after all.